So this took place years ago. I had my own paranormal investigation company, and we were hired on by a family friend to investigate his $1 million home in the foothills. Now, the only reason I bring up the value of said home is so you can understand the sheer size of the location. It was a massive house, 2-story, lots of rooms, and we had gotten reports that the maid was found outside at 3 a.m, crying, afraid to go back in the house. Turns out, she was sound asleep when all of a sudden, she felt hands on both sides of her tucking her in. And not just a gentle, good night tuck in like you would for your kids, but a forceful tuck, like you're not going to be able to move, tuck in. She also stated how at other times, she would be walking and feel a hand tap her on the back or on the legs, and there would be no one home. So myself and my cousin investigate for the first time. We'll call him Steve. So myself and Steve arrive at the house, and we start doing EVP sessions. And of course we don't listen back right away. But we notice in the dark that it just feels heavy. Something doesn't feel normal. There's a thickness in the air. You could cut it with a knife. And as we're going through and doing EVPs and taking pictures, we get to one room. It's in the middle of a hallway on the upstairs side. Now, we go in the room and we shut the door. And there's a little nightlight on the outside, just enough to light the way so you don't trip over anything that could have been left in the hallway. And we're sitting there facing the door doing EVP sessions. And we see what looks like the shadow of someone walking across the door, blocking out the light. We don't know what's going on, so we continue. But we keep staring at the door and see it a couple more times. So at that point, I wonder if the homeowner is back to check in and see how things are going. So we wait for it to happen again and run to the door and swing it open. And no one's there. So again, other than that, a few noises and some yes and no answers and a couple phrases that I can't quite recall. The night was pretty uneventful. Now, we go back again, and this time we bring a guest. We'll call him Jake. Now, as we're sitting there, getting ready to start everything, we just go through our plan of how we're going to do things. And we're going to end with the maid's room. So we do a couple EVP sessions in the living room of the house and a couple of the other bedrooms. Nothing too exciting happens. That same room where we saw something going across the bottom of the door, blocking out the light in the hallway, happened again. But we noticed from our EVP session in the living room, when we were talking and asking questions, we didn't get much of a response. But when our guest, Jake, started asking questions, now he didn't even say his name in the recording. Steve and I said our names, just so we could have record of it. And, we would start, okay, this is Steve and such in the living room, EVP session start. And He asked, is it okay that I'm here with these guys? I know they've been here before, but I haven't. Is that okay? And you just hear, clear as day, no, Jake. So then we go into the maid's room at the end of the night where everything happened. And Steve and I sit on the bed. And Jake is in the odd corner of the room. So it's a typical room, but by the door, there's almost like a indent where you could have a small desk on the opposite side of the door that kind of doesn't fit in with the room really well, but it's there. He's sitting over there recording us. And because that's a perfect vantage point for the entire room. And now we're starting to ask questions and see if we can't get answers as to what was going on and why. When all of a sudden the bed just starts violently shaking. Now I don't mean, you feel like a little vibration in the cushion or something, like a vibrating chair or a vibrating bed. I mean the whole bed is shaking, like people are on each side of the bed picking it up and dropping it, picking it up and dropping it. And we look at each other and we're shoulder to shoulder. Neither of us can do that while we're on the bed, and we're both on the bed. So we hop off and we're just standing there like, what the hell? We look around. There's no mechanisms under the bed to make it happen. There's nothing around us except the bed, the solid wood headboard with rounded edges. And all of a sudden, Steve goes, wow, my back hurts. It feels really warm and it's hurting a little bit. So I lift up his shirt, and sure enough, he has scratches down his back. Now we look and verify that there was nothing there in that room, on that bed, or by it that could have done that to him. And there was nothing. And at that point, we decided it was a good time to end our session. Because whatever was there, it didn't like that we had an extra person. I don't know why. Or maybe it was just starting to not like anybody in that house. We haven't heard of any activity since, but we also haven't been able to get a hold of the homeowner, which is troublesome. Because all that stuff happens and then we're ghosted. It's pretty interesting. And it makes you wonder what the hell was going on that night. Whose voices were we hearing? And why that family?